I am also excited to be here today because we are covering a few of my favorite topics, as well as combining a few different series I have here on the channel. That's the beautiful thing about bullet journaling, in my opinion, and one of the reasons why I'm so enamored by bullet journaling in general. It tends to combine and draw together very different hobbies and loves of mine into one convenient book where I can then reflect, look back on, and keep track of all of these very different parts of my life. So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I set up my seasonal springtime pages, as well as filling out and getting started on my plant log. Now, if you have been following my Pagan Plan With Me series for a while now, you would have seen me start these pages in my 2022 yearly setup. There is a lot of new, invigorated, lighthearted, joyful energy that tends to be floating around here at Tamterra during the spring. I'm excited to share with you an amalgamation video of both my Tamterra homestead gardening plans as well as my bullet journal setup for the spring months to come. So without further ado, we're going to head over to the desk and take a look. I absolutely love spring. I am very excited to be able to use my watercolors to create this springtime cover page, as well as my tarot study page. When I use watercolor in my journal, I'll go through all the pages that I am creating and do the watercolor first, coming back to finish off the detail or any of the titles I need to input later on. This way it ensures that my watercolor is fully dried before I start messing around in there with a fine-tipped black marker. Of course, because it is spring, we started off with some flowers. I like to stay as accurate as I can to my actual natural timeline here, so I didn't want to go too crazy with all of my flower selection and kept it very simple with some lovely buttercups. Buttercups feel very cottage-esque to me and rather mystical in nature. I think they're very cute when you see them popping up in the grass, so that's what we decided to go with. Because springtime is such a busy time here at Tamterra, I gave myself 2 pages for my spring projects page as opposed to 1, which I normally do. This way I have a lot more room to jot down all of my projects and my ideas and can get them out of my brain onto paper so I don't forget any of them. The yellow buttercups and the pink little ribbon details are lovely spring colors in my opinion. They've got that Easter energy that I find so endearing and refreshing come this time of year. There are 2 pagan Sabbats that fall in the spring months. The first being Ostara, which is coming up on March 20th, as well as Beltane on May 1st. Of course, depending on where you are in the world, these dates change, but I do love to observe, study, and pay attention to the pagan wheel of the year. This is where a lot of holidays originate from, and it really anchors in the natural cycle and the celebrations that would normally occur around these times of years, and I have found them to align and energetically ring true to me when I study them, pay attention to them, and honor them in my everyday life, as well as mark them and create themes around them in my bullet journal. So if you have not looked into the pagan Sabbats of Ostara and Beltane, I would highly recommend. I feel like there's a lot of goodness in there. We are on to the titles. You just want to make sure, like I mentioned already, that your watercolor is fully dry before you start doing this, or else things can get a little messy. So that is my spring cover page, and now the tarot card of the spring season, the Star. The top half of this page is for the interpretation of the tarot card, and then the lower half is where I write down and record my reflections and observations over the spring months of March, April, and May. Like the previous page, I did all of my watercolor first, came back in with my black fine liner pen, crispened up some of those details, and wrote in my titles. These pages are often very script heavy. I do end up writing out a lot of projects and a lot of descriptions and details on the tarot card page, so keeping the graphics lighter kind of helps counteract the end result for me. The next step is to go in and write out the interpretation for the Star tarot card, and then that will complete my spring spreads. Keywords for the Star Tarot card are as followed: inspiration, ideal love, truth revealed. The key phrases are realization of a dream, light at the end of the tunnel, knowing you are going to be successful, freely giving of yourself in love, visionary progress, insight and self-belief are essential for your joy. The interpretation of the tarot card, the Star, is as followed. Your powers of self-expression are at their highest. Feeling in touch with universal energy, there is hope and belief in the future. Have an optimistic attitude. If you believe in yourself and trust, you can make your own opportunities. Success in love, work, or financial aspirations. A revelation is about to come to you in the nicest way possible. Regain your motivation. Experience peace of mind and joy. Enjoy a better sense of who you are and where you're going. The Star gives you permission to navigate wherever you need to go. This card is inspiration. It does not give you practical advice. The only potential block of the Star is that your own expectations are too high, that no one, not even you, can meet them. That was a quick look at my spring seasonal setup. I have definitely found that I have a lot more projects come springtime. That's the nature of a homestead. Everything is waking up. The to-do list starts getting slowly checked off, which is why I left 2 pages for my spring projects as opposed to 1. I have really been enjoying and more frequently utilizing this study approach when it comes to my seasonal tarot pulls. In previous years, I've done a tarot card per month, but I have found that having one tarot card to really get into a deeper study of over the duration of 3 months to be very beneficial. I like the retrospective energy that this type of study has. It allows me to go through and do a summary of the month that just passed, and then I can compare those 3 months. I just finished this process with the months of December, January, and February for the winter season, and it was interesting to see how very specific parts of the tarot archetype showed up at different times and different ways throughout the different months. So again, if you are new to tarot or you're looking at different ways to try to delve deeper into a tarot study, doing something like this, whether it's in a bullet journal or not, has been really beneficial for me, so I would encourage you to give it a go. The latter half of this video, I'm going to be sharing with you how I set up my plant log and some more gardening-oriented journaling strategies. So if you are interested, please continue to watch. We're going to head back over to the desk and get right into the plant log. Lovely day, lovely day, lovely day. So this is probably one of my all-time most used spread in my bullet journal. We're starting with the key. I will walk you through what I keep track of and why. Of course, if you want to mark and keep track of different things that your plants experience throughout your grow season, by all means, make a key that entirely serves you and fits your needs, but this is just how I do it, and if you want to copy it, I have found that it works great for me. The first thing on the list is started, so I will record and mark down when I've started all of my seeds. Same thing goes for direct sow. The main difference being direct sow means I planted them outdoors, or started means I have started them indoors in seed starting trays under grow lights. The next thing I will track is when my seeds germinate. This information actually informs a lot of my decisions around starting seeds next year. For example, if I need to start them in the house or in the greenhouse or on a seed starting mat where the soil is a little bit warmer, a lot of that decision making can be helped by knowing how long it takes my seeds to germinate. After that, I'll record if I need to pot up a variety. So if a specific tomato plant grows very fast and I have to pot it up faster than all of my other tomato varieties, this way I will be able to tell. It also helps me decide next year if I've started plants too soon, if I'm having to pot up all of the varieties, for example. Greenhouse. So because I live at such a high altitude and my grow season is quite short, I have to harden off my plants in multiple steps. Most of the time, I start all of my plants indoors around mid-March, and then we'll move them to the greenhouse before I harden them off and transplant them out. So I will mark down when I move different plants into the greenhouse. After that, like I said, I have a hardening off phase where I take them out of the greenhouse and have them just outdoors in the natural elements, usually in the shade under some trees, but depending on how my spring is going, I need to keep track of what plants I'm hardening off when. Once we're done with the hardening off phase, we go right into transplanting them out into the garden. I will record when I transplant them out. Now there's a big gap of recording between transplanting something out and when it actually starts producing a flower or a fruiting body. Once the harvest is complete, or most of the harvest is complete, I will also record that with the harvest option. Last but not least, I record unexpected deaths. While we plan and wish they wouldn't happen, they often do. Sometimes it's pests, sometimes it's a drought, sometimes it's a heat spell, sometimes it's a hailstorm. It's just important to record when something doesn't go as planned. That way I can better prepare for it next year, or decide not to grow a specific crop if, for example, they tend to attract deers. That is my key and a few of the things that I choose to track over my entire grow season. Like I said, if you want to switch things up, change things, add things, by all means, but I think this is a pretty good starting point. I assign a color to all of my tracking options in the key and will simply color in the square and write the date over top. All of the months are recorded by the columns themselves, so that's all I need to do to keep track of a lot of information. On the other side of this cute little Dutch door, I have my growing information. I have my zone, which is 9 and 10, my last frost date, which is May 31st, my first frost date, which is October 10th, and my total amount of frost-free days, which is 132. Obviously, I skew these numbers a little bit. I usually play on the safer side and will round up or down by a few days, just to cover my butt. Now we start writing out every single plant we're going to be growing for this coming growing season. I keep my seed inventory in order of times in which the seeds need to be started. So this whole list goes from my earliest seed starting date to my latest, which would be my direct sowing varieties. I then further separate them into vegetables, herbs, and flowers. This just kind of keeps track and helps me prioritize things. If I start to run out of time, I will prioritize getting all of my vegetable seeds started over my flowers, for example. You don't have to record things in this order. You can go alphabetical. You could keep things separated in any number of categories or systems that you would like. This is just the way I found works best for me, because then I can use this list as kind of a checklist. Like I mentioned, I just separate the seeds that I'm starting in each time category by a gold line. The first line separates the vegetables from the herbs, and then from the herbs I separate out what flowers I'm growing this season. Again, you don't have to do this, it's just how my brain works and I find it beneficial. So if you do decide to do it, let me know. There are 2 pages that I allotted in my bullet journal for this, but decided to actually spread things out a little bit. So I ripped out a page out of the back of my bullet journal, painted up the layout, drew in the columns, and have decided to mark down my direct sow varieties on that removable piece of paper so that I can actually take it out to the garden with me. It fits perfectly in my journal and stays in because my journal is closed by an elastic, so I'm really not worried that this page isn't physically attached. It worked out perfectly that all of my direct sow varieties fit on one of these pages, and I am left with the back page for any additional seeds that I buy last minute, or if I buy started plants from any nurseries this spring. I hope you all have enjoyed this amalgamation of my different passions and the different series here on the channel. This is one of my favorite parts about my YouTube channel, is that I have the opportunity to bring together my very different and vast amount of hobbies and passions and then share those perspectives with you all, combining and talking about gardening and homesteading and living seasonally back in touch with nature, with bullet journaling and tracking and planning for the future, topped off with a nice little dose of magically inclined pagan juju and tarot, divination, human optimization, spirituality, witchcraft, that is tied up into a neat little bowl of life by me. I hope my perspective and my thoughts have given you some type of value. As always, may the force be with you. I hope you have a fantastic springtime and are thoroughly enjoying the breath of fresh air that is this time of year. I'll see you all back here very shortly with another video. Bye.